Are we doing a thing?
Start talking.
Start talking. Welcome, as always, back to Office Hours to Karpf and Loge. I am Peter Loge with my co-host. Welcome once again to Office Hours to Karpf and Loge. As always, I'm Peter Loge, your co-host, and I'm joined, as always, by...
Now it's a bit. Now I'm just waiting. You want to try it a third time? This time we'll do it right.
I got time.
Welcome to Office Hours.
Dan Air is awesome on podcasts.
Stop. Welcome to Office Hours with Karpf and Loge. I am your main host, Dave Karp. I'm joined by my co-host. Who are you?
Peter Loge, who has relatives in Maine. So I technically am at least a Maine-in-law host.
Oh, God.
I know.
Oh,
it's bad.
God.
It's bad.
None of this is usable.
None of it's usable. We're going to roll with it anyway. So we have things, Dave. I've got bits. I've got observations. You have thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I have to a bit of owning up to something. So over the summer series, and I talked about the Minions and my love of the Minions, and a loyal listener sent me a Minion. I finally saw the new Minions movie. Mm-hmm. It is not good. It was very distressing.
That is the type of honesty that we need on this podcast. By the way, the semester starts on Monday. Are you going to end up thinking of your students as kind of minions?
No, because the Minions follow the most evil thing, and I don't think I'm the most evil thing in the department. Some of the faculty may disagree.
Are we going to do? Should we do faculty rankings? Who's most to least?
I think
evil?
we're moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. The other fun thing. You have content. I learned this week. The governor's mansion in New Jersey, it's called Drumthwacket.
What?
The name of the governor's mansion, like Gracie Mansion in New York, New Jersey, Drumthwacket.
No.
Yes.
No.
I have the link. It's on the internet. You can look it up.
Okay.
Let's talk about real things.
Listeners,
You've got stuff.
don't look that up.
You've got stuff to talk about that's on point. We're a strategic communications podcast, Dave.
Yeah. So I was not planning on writing this week about the whole Natalie Harp, John Ossoff thing, even though it's what people in politics have been talking about all week. And then I wrote about it because David Axelrod had such a bad take that I was like, okay, I can never resist a dunk. Axelrod is supposed to be good at this stuff. When I started at GW in 2012, he was especially major advisor to the president.
Yeah.
Because
very smart
he
guy.
was good at this stuff.
Very, very smart guy.
Smart guy who comes out of comms.
Yeah.
And for listeners who don't know, John Ossoff gave a speech at his rally, Georgia Center, gives a speech at his rally over the weekend, running for re-election, where he has a paragraph talking about how the president is checked out. He doesn't want to be doing the job. He's not paying attention to the war. He wants to fly around on his plane, visit places with Natalie. And that line with Natalie ended up getting so much traction because most people don't know. Like 2 weeks ago, when we did our last podcast, you had said, do you know about Natalie Harp? I would have said, I do not know that name. Right. Now, when I type the word Natalie into Google, Natalie Harp is the first autocomplete result. So she has been put on the radar because she is this advisor or assistant to the president who is always there. She is there when he goes to the golf course. She is there when he's in high-level meetings, when he snuck off of Air Force One because they thought that there was a terrorist threat. He left the cabinet members on Air Force One and the press on Air Force One, but he brought Natalie with him.
Yeah.
And so she's become this figure who everyone is now talking about,
right.
Which is further increasing the dig at him and driving him and his team crazy.
Right.
All of which to me is kind of like Stratcom 101, you get full marks. Like this is good comms because you've put your opponent on the defensive and he's freaking out. Like his team is so bad. Like if they just ignored this, then it goes away because everyone's not going to spend a week talking about who's Natalie.
Which is the theme of the summer, right? They keep...
his team being awful at this?
Well, they keep taking the bait.
Yeah.
They keep taking the bait.
They have no ability to avoid bait. I think largely because they spend all their time cooking their brains on X and thinking, what's the thing that's going to get me attaboys from the president and from J.D. Vance, who are also cooking their brains on X. So all of them, like Steve Chung, his comms director, came out in response and called Ossoff a cuck, which, first of all, man, you're supposed to be a professional. Don't talk that way. Second of all, congrats on being incapable of avoiding obvious bait, But so they end up just sort of stepping on every rake, reinforcing this narrative. Meanwhile, this both makes Ossoff look great and look like an even bigger 2028 presidential contender. So like this is a win for the Dems, win for him, costly, at least in terms of the news cycle, costly for Trump. And then Axelrod comes out and says, he was making a great point in the speech. He really shouldn't have used the words with Natalie because it detracted from the rest of the speech. And then he went on to say, like, yeah, I guess you got some virality from it, and maybe you fed the base who were unclassy, but you should have just left it out. It would have been so much stronger without it. And I just like, I wish I could ask Axelrod what decade he thinks it is, because the fact of making it go viral, like there are some things that you do and like you make it go viral and that's cheap. This was not cheap. Like the ability, we've known for over a decade now that attention is the scarce currency in media and politics.
Right.
And when attention is the scarce currency, the ability to go viral and make it a thing that everyone is talking about really matters.
Well, it's also, time and attention are our most precious commodities, right? Which is, I think, some of the biggest impact of lobbying is you direct, of all the things to care about, staffer or congressman, care about this, and here's how you care about it, right? Because something else has to fall off the agenda, right? So if we're talking about Natalie, then this is, and then the media have to explain who she is, and there was this dummy plane, and there's a real threat, and the Qatari airline, and and cabinet secretaries and the press corps. So it actually ends up being this little thing that drives attention away from what the president wants to draw attention towards.
Right.
And it may not be towards what Ossoff wants to draw attention to, but it's certainly away from the Trump agenda, which, he's underwater on everything.
Right.
But I think the White House would much rather be talking about immigration, the economy, almost anything other than trying to explain away stuff.
What they really want to be talking about this week, even though I hate it, they're doing like a Grand Prix race throughout Washington, D.C. this weekend. They're shutting down DCA apparently on Sunday.
For 3 or 4 hours on race day.
So I think it was 6 months ago, Patrick Ruffini, who is a Republican pollster type who was more impressive a decade ago than he is now, frankly. But he gave sort of the sunny side case for why the midterms could still go well for the Republicans.
Yeah.
And one of his points was like, I think this was also before Iran even, but one of his beats was like, well, we get such good vibes from America 250. And that leads to people really feeling patriotic and
sort of a rally around the flag thing.
Right?
Right.
Granted, I think that this Grand Prix race is dumb, and I'm annoyed that it's again shutting down the city where I actually live.
Right.
But if you're the president's team, you would like everybody to be thinking about America 250 and look at the cool things that we're doing to celebrate. Right. That's what you want. And aside from that, because I could imagine an Axelrod coming in and saying, but the problem with talking about Natalie is it means that you're not talking about the other even better frame for you. But again, there's an old line. This is one of the basic things that I teach in Strackham every semester. It comes from Alinsky. The action is in the reaction.
Right.
It's not just that this is leading his team to freak out. Part of why this has gone on for a full week now is that clearly an awful lot of other viziers within his crowd do not like or trust her.
Right. The
and
calls
so
are coming from
in
inside the house.
And what that means is not only are they extending this story, but they're all backstabbing each other, which is what you want. That's then going to lead to months after this, his lieutenants not trusting each other and backstabbing each other and trying to get retribution. That's exactly what you want going into the fall. Right.
You've got really tight margins in the House and the Senate, so really close races. Iowa and Texas are both moved to toss-ups for the Senate races this week, for example. I've talked to Republican operatives who are very happy the Democrat is staying in Montana and are super happy with the Florida primary result, but thin margins, and you want discipline. And this is a historically undisciplined White House, right? And so it's really easy to throw them off track. I think the other thing that's happening with this administration we're seeing is people are leaving really close to an election.
Yeah.
Right. And historically that doesn't happen. Right. I worked in the Obama administration. You've been around politics for a long time. Basically, if you were there on January 1 in an even numbered year, you were there through November 15th of that year.
Yeah.
Because you want to both have consistency and you don't have to worry about transitions. And you don't want the story that everybody's jumping ship.
Yeah.
Because if you're jumping ship, it means you're looking for work. And the reason you're looking for work is because you don't think you'll have any after November.
Yeah.
Right. And there are ways to look for work that aren't illegal and that aren't like, so my boss is about to get hammered. What do you got?
Yep.
Like, you're hiring servers? I
Yeah.
could drive Uber. Right. But there are ways to do it. But the fact that that a lot of people in this administration are leaving so late in the game, and I leave the press secretary aside. I commend her for saying, as long as she did, 2 young kids, it's a brutal job.
Yeah.
But that her aside, you've got turnover of the White House. You've got the Natalie sideshow. You've got the race not getting positive press, certainly not here in D.C. You had the 4th of July, which was delayed because of weather and shut everything down. Like, this is just, they're in a bad space when it comes to messaging on this, I think.
Bad space when it comes to messaging. And also, a thing that comes to mind is I feel like one of the narratives of Trumpism for 10 years now has been he has a set of authoritarian ambitions that we need to take seriously. And the greatest check on them is incompetence in execution.
Right. Which tends to come with authoritarianism.
Right.
Because it's based on people buying favors and favoritism rather than even a modicum of meritocracy.
Right. Like, he keeps on signaling, his team keeps on signaling that they would really like to be able to take control of all of the elections and dictate the results. And that's hard to do. And one of the questions is like, do you guys really think that you can pull, like, that you have the capacity to pull that off? Because, like, Stephen Chung is about as good as you get. And, like, that guy sucks at his job. So again, another reason why I just have to look at Axelrod and think, like, have you thought this through at all, buddy? Is any story that both makes Trump look old and out of touch and weird, that also leads his trusted players to be stabbing each other in the back going into September, is a good story, because that bleeds out what little competence that they have. And the less they're able to competently execute, the safer civil society is.
Well, it's also then this leads
Take the
then
win.
to a different sort of parallel conversation. Just occurred to me there's a connection that I think the faux infighting in the Democratic Party between the moderates and the liberals, Democratic Socialists of America, oh my gosh, there's this insurgent left. No, it's the normies winning elections, as if there's a big policy debate. And I think some of the policy debate is real and it's important. You know where I tend to come down on it, probably not where you come down on all of it. But I think a lot of it is sort of missing the point that what voters want is somebody who actually cares about them and cares about things they're talking about, right? So the more that the Trump administration can be seen to be a sideshow, the more attention Trump is paying and seen to be paying on redecorating the town in which we both live and, frankly, disrupting traffic. It took me 45 minutes to get from my house to Audi Field to watch a bad DC United lose a game on a hot night. Like, it was not DC United sell the team, hire good players. Just saying. I try not to take a lot of political positions on this show, coming down hard on this one. Sell the damn team. At any rate, I think it's the more Washington can be seen to be out of touch, then the more candidates who say, I care about things you care about, gain traction. And it's not a policy thing. I'm going to quote Hibbing and Tice Morse, as I often do. John Hibbing, Elizabeth Tice Morse, Stealth Democracy, America's Beliefs About How Government Should Work. The book is aging, but I think it is brilliant. I think it is incredibly relevant. It is published, 2000, 2002, something like that. Anyway, they write, people know that many problems are beyond the control of elected officials and that others are devilishly difficult, but while they may not demand solutions to these problems, they do demand respect, sensitivity, and understanding. And, more to the point, people are less concerned with governmental solutions than they are with knowing that decision makers understand what it's like to walk in the very worn sneakers at a waitress job. Like, do you get the challenges I'm facing? Are you taking them and me seriously?
So I'm going to pivot here back towards...
I have his email address if you want to yell at John.
It's not that I think he's wrong. I do think it's a bit dated.
Yeah.
And the bit that's dated, because the phenomenon that I'm seeing the most, and this, we've talked about this in other episodes, this is my bit about you joining the DSA eventually.
Only if they save capitalism.
As usual, the best comms that I've seen this week has come effortlessly out of Mamdani's office.
Yeah.
There was one, they did a short video because there were photos of him riding a bike and he wasn't wearing a helmet.
Brilliant. This was brilliant.
And so they just did a short video because a bunch of New Yorkers wrote to him being like, hey man, where's your helmet? And so they showed that and he said, you're right. And then they showed him taking a box out of like a closet and opening up and there was like sparkles or a rainbow. But he puts his helmet on and he says like, stay safe, New York. and like clearly enjoying the job and also being responsive. The one that I liked even better was a short video. Apparently New York just had an evening where like kids could go to a bunch of like public parks.
Says the parent of young children.
Right, exactly. But like he just did a quick like, hey, so on this Sunday night, kids get to go and like be entertained and parents get a night off because y'all need it. And again, like effortless fun, but what is being communicated there is not, I get what it's like to work a wait staff job. What's being communicated there is, yeah, you pay taxes into government, and then government does things that makes your community better. And that, I think, in a way that was less true in 2002, because we are now in a crisis of this.
Right.
Like the crisis of there's stuff that government is supposed to do, and people would like it if the government would just do it.
And also pay attention. And also, he's human.
Yeah.
Like, yep, I made a mistake. I should be doing this. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And it's kind of fun. You open the box, like you said, it's and it's a cool, flashy helmet, but he's still wearing his suit. Yep. It's very sort of on brand being a person. Yeah. Right? And something I grabbed from Instagram this week, a place where I'm spending alarmingly more time than I want to because my staff wants me to. As Mamdani said on his 9th day in office, his agenda is not simply about curbing the city's most urgent crises, but also includes helping, quote, working people to afford lives of joy. Mm-hmm. That includes an intentional, visible effort to make many smaller scale improvements to the quality of life in the city, the Parents' Night Out. And it also includes efforts by the mayor himself to show up in the places where New Yorkers let loose and celebrate side by side with them. Yeah. It is enjoying being a citizen, is participating in being part of the community while doing the unglamorous plumbing work that you and I talk about a lot. I think and none of this is policy. Right.
All of this is a broad message of there are good things that government does that make people's lives better, and it's going to do that. Right. And I do think you're right that like the fights right now that are getting really loud between the moderates and the DSA, I think some of that is just a calendar thing. Like there's not a lot.
It's August.
Everybody would like to focus on let's beat the Republicans, but that's 3 months away. So like
it's August.
There's the stuff to talk about now is the primary fights. And like every week there's another primary. So people like that's the thing to talk about. I agree with you that that's overblown. The bit that ties them together, but not everybody, because some politicians are really not good at it.
Right.
But the bit that ties them together is this broader message of sort of rejecting Reaganism and saying, no, actually, government does things, and we are better off with a government that is committed to doing things for people.
Right.
You can be moderate or you can be hard left with that and still provide that message, but you got to mean it.
Right.
That, I think, is what we see moving forward.
You got to do it and be seen to be doing it. You've got to care and be seen to be caring.
And there's so many good comms wins in that are actually kind of fun to do. And you need a bit of skill. But it does occur to me that like there's an old school politician style that is like, I am going to tell a story of how my grandfather was working class. Right. And then people will connect with me through that story. And it's like, that, first of all, I won't go viral. Nobody's going to hear that if they're not in the audience. They're going to forget if they are in the audience. And second of all, you just sound like a politician. Whereas the ability to say like and it's easier for a governor or a mayor than, a Senate candidate, but the ability to understand the moment we're in and talk about making government work so it works for people, like that's where your wins are. And also they're like kind of easy and kind of fun. So go do it.
Let's talk about primaries. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I don't know when we started, but I'm still not going to run too long. Let's talk about primaries. So we've had a bunch since we last spoke. Trump-backed candidates lost in conservative places. You had what the press is reporting is a huge upset for the Democrats in a Florida Senate race.
Yep, that was wild.
You've got so one of the things we've talked about a lot is candidates respond to incentives. And you've said Republicans are going to turn on each other in August because they're going to realize Trump's numbers are bad and getting worse. They're hovering on the low 30s. Which is not, and across the board. Yeah. Right? And they're only going to get worse, I think, because the economic news is certainly going to get worse. And any good economic stimulus or anything that comes out of tax cuts or whatever won't kick in time for anyone to notice. Mm-hmm. So even if he's right on policy, his timing is bad. Yeah. Bush Sr. suffered from this in 92. Mm-hmm. Clinton rode Bush's economic success because the timing simply didn't work for President Bush. Right. So
also Trump is wrong on this, which is going to be.
But even if he's like there are elements to be right, like I'm not a policy guy in this instance. So What, if anything, do we learn from the primaries other than everybody overreading saying, I told you so, DSA saying, I told you so in Florida, moderate saying, I told you so elsewhere, like what are we learning from these incentives? That's a really long repeat of a boring question.
Yeah, I think
we're out of time. We're not out of time, apparently.
We are
I'm being
not.
told we're not out of time.
Anyway, I would, like you said at the beginning, avoid over-reading from results.
Right.
I would actually say, like, I thought that Republicans would be breaking from Trump by August much more than they are so far.
Okay.
Right now, the Republican Party is still very much Trump's party, and even when Trump-backed candidates are losing in primaries, the bulk of the party is still just Trumpist and not going anywhere. And even the quote unquote YOLO caucus in the Senate, senators who were going to be out of jobs soon anyway, so maybe they'll finally stand up to him. Didn't stand up to him on Todd Blanche. Like it's still just Trump's party. He can do whatever he wants.
Hopefully they will with the
as they're
FDA.
concerned.
Hopefully they will with the FDA.
Hopefully. But again, at this point, it's kind of like I'll believe it when I see it. So they haven't broken from him, even though, my God, they must be getting nervous. So maybe in September, or maybe they just won't. And on the Democratic side, the main thing that I would read into it is just voters right now are real pissed off and uncertain, and that can lead to some surprising results.
I think that I want to come back to the Republican piece. On the Democratic side, what strikes me is commentary, I think, from actually Republicans, which is something we heard Chris Sununu say at GW a year and a half or so ago. Republican New Hampshire, Republican legacy family, big deal family out there in New Hampshire, said you may not like what Donald Trump is doing, but at least he's doing something. Right? And a lot of the mainstream Dems have said, no, trust us, trust us. Like, dude, we trusted you for decades. And come on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm pretty sure these people are way out of the mainstream, but at least they're going to do something, and I think that's what I would read into is voters are frustrated across the board, right? And they want politicians to actually sound like people, behave like people, and say they're actually going to physically do something. But I do want to come back to primaries. So Wyoming, a rancher and a vet, this is the New York Times, rancher and a veterinarian who promised to lower the temperature of the state's inter-party brawls beat a Trump-backed candidate who vowed to stock the state government with bulldogs. Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, he lost. That is, I have to say, not surprising on any metric, and everybody takes a sigh of relief. Early in the summer, candidates whom Trump endorsed faltered in governor's races in Iowa and Georgia. His initial pick for governor lost in South Carolina. And, of course, we have Trump's pick for the Senate nominee in South Carolina, the late Senator Graham's sister, who says she doesn't know much about foreign policy.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a sign that the Republicans are melting down?
Like, I don't think it actually is, because I don't know that that's that different. Like, Trump has never been great at primaries.
That's true.
Right? So, like, I'm actually, like, if we did this as an empirical data analysis, I'm not sure that these results are all that different than the past decade.
Let's find out. This is a testable hypothesis. We'll find out.
Hypothesis.
We'll find out.
Some student in senior seminar starting next week should pick this up as their project.
You're the one
for
who
the
said the
semester,
students
right?
shouldn't be watching these yet. They should watch them. Although by the time this airs, classes will have started.
There you go. There you go.
So you're going to, all right. I do want to keep an eye on the clock, and I know you have thoughts.
Two more items, don't we?
Yeah, well, we have thoughts on, you pick them. You've got two big things you want to go after.
I thought you were going to talk about that company now.
No, you were going to talk about that. So I got an email that was like, your voice is missing on people want responses for political communication experts or something. I get random email. We all get random email. And I clicked, I wonder what this is. And it was an AI company. And I didn't pay much attention to it, except I know you would have thoughts. So I simply forwarded it to you and said, pod fodder, because I have a shared document where we put things, maybe we can talk about the podcast, that I diligently add to and that I pull up every week.
Oh, wait, am I supposed to read that?
Yeah, yes, Dave. Yes, Dave. It's preparing ahead. You have thoughts on this company?
Yeah, I
sent me an email.
So this is a company that sent you an email saying, hey, people would like to know what Peter Loge thinks about political communication things.
Which even I know is almost never true.
Yeah, first of all, just the company, if they're listening, I don't want to know what Peter Loge thinks about political communication. But their idea was you should authorize us to create a Peter Loge bot so that when reporters want to know about political communication things, they can just ask the Peter Loge bot that Peter Loge gets no revenue from. So this bot would then kind of replace you with your authorization and say things that it thinks that you would say. This is the Grammarly thing from like a year ago, but trying to get your permission so you won't sue. And I just want to make clear that this is pathetic. I understand that you're a startup and you got some money probably from A16Z and you would like some more money, so you need some growth. But blast emailing people saying, hey, can we create a bot for you that will control? Hard no. The only upside of sending those emails is you might get a little bit of attention because people will make fun of your dumb company on our podcast. Have some clue about the world you're operating in and maybe create a product that people would actually, want.
So they said, if you haven't heard of us, here's a link to us in the New York Times.
Yeah.
So this is cool. New York Times, I wonder what it's actually part of the DealBook newsletter. Mm-hmm. And the story isn't about this company.
Right.
The story is, talk to my AI twin. Busy executives have a new productivity hack. CEOs and Harvard professors are making AI-powered doubles that answer questions and attend meetings.
Yeah.
So as part of this, I'm going to feed all of my stuff into a machine. Mm-hmm. And now I understand that faculty would probably rather have bots attend faculty meetings.
I would love, let's see, if they want to pitch me a bot that can attend faculty meetings, I don't know how much you got to charge me. But the idea that you're such an important executive that you need an AI bot that can answer reporter questions, no one thinks that about you.
I could spend more time lounging.
They've definitely not met you.
But this is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to create an avatar double to teach my classes to talk to, apparently there are faculty doing this with office hours.
I mean, but these are only...
big lecture classes.
Yes,
in big
there are
lecture
faculty
classes.
in big lecture classes who have decided I will have an AI bot that will do my office hours for me. Sure, but that's a very narrow set of faculty who are all definitely already tenured and have already decided that they're not going to try hard anymore. That's a very narrow, and those are faculty who otherwise were basically having either not going to their office hours or having a grad student do that for them. So sure, there's a tiny niche there, but just no.
One line from the story is, Lou Shipley, former technology CEO and senior lecturer at Harvard Business School, teaches more than 500 students a year. He has limited office hours, so he tried to offer his AI double for student meetings. That didn't go very well, he said. They actually want to meet me. Mm-hmm. It turns out.
I mean, so that's actually an argument for you using one of these things, because I don't think your students want to meet you.
I don't. I think they do. I think they do. I'm lovable, Dave.
I'm right here.
Our producer, former student of ours, just said, "I'm right here."
I'm right here. She's here for you, Dave. We know that.
That's true.
All right. One more thing.
Really,
which
one of us was your favorite professor?
One more thing. We're moving on.
Mamma Mia situation.
I just reimbursed her for the pizza and the merch.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So
took a little while though.
That's only because that was her fault.
Anyway, we got.
I'm
a clock
buying
going.
favors.
We got a clock.
I am
going.
purchasing favors.
Man.
I'm not proud. Again, I was a lobbyist for America's Funniest Home Videos.
I know. It's been a couple weeks since you mentioned that.
I'm just saying, I'll take what I can get.
Do we want to do we were talking about doing predictions for the semester.
Can I do one more thing before predictions?
You can do
I want to do two more
thing.
things, two more fun things. I'm the fun one.
Peter Loge is the fun one, listeners.
I am the fun one. One is, I think, a brilliant piece of politics, which also kind of fits with the Trump, you have to remind it if you're reminded of. Again, according to Blue Sky, people whose names you probably recognize and I don't, Talarico, Democratic Senate candidate in Texas, has a smart and funny promotion offering a simple pen, with the words, "Not Ken Paxton's pen," printed on it. Mm-hmm. I went to order one for a friend and found out it was sold out. So Ken Paxton got in trouble for a decade ago, apparently lifted a $1,000 pen from somebody else in security line at a courthouse. This has now become an ongoing attack that he took the $1,000 pen. It doesn't matter. It was a decade ago, but it becomes this, Ken Paxton took a $1,000 pen. He has also been accused of, and it reminds everybody, and it's a way to be snarky and mean without being snarky and mean. It's the Ossoff Oh, she was on the plane. I was, as our regular listeners know, Chief of Staff to Congressman Brad Sherman of California. Brad has been follically challenged for a long time. He was California Board of Equalization, which is an elected tax board. Follically challenged. Doesn't need a comb as much as many other people, which is the point of the joke. So he had, when he was California Board of Equalization, then a member of Congress, candidate for Congress and a member of Congress, he has combs with his phone number, name and phone number on them, either the congressional office, well, no, for the congressional office or the campaign, so legal and appropriate, handed out saying, you need this more than I do. Mm-hmm. And people would laugh at the joke because, oh, you don't have much hair, so you're handing out combs, and it's the brand name on the comb. And it's this little way in, little piece of political shtick that ends up being super clever.
Yeah, so the thing that I like about the Talarico thing, it's also like the reflecting pool in that, like the substantive thing going on there. If other candidates tried that, it would fall flat.
Right.
The reason why it works here is Ken Paxton is the opponent who is so corrupt that other Republicans in Texas can't stand him.
Right.
And the Penn story is one of the stories of like, there's another Republican in Texas who will not deal with that guy because of all the crimes. There's the big substantive thing, and then there's also sort of the like funnier, more lightweight bits. You use the funny lightweight bits to remind people,
right?
Okay, yeah, no, but he's the guy who even the Republicans cannot deal with because of all the crime. You don't want the crime guy as the senator.
And he's the guy who lifted the $1,000 pen. What kind of a cheap, like, and Talarico, man of faith.
Yeah.
People are arguing evangelicals on the right. He's saying it's not. So the conversation about Talarico is his faith.
Yeah.
The conversation about Paxton is his venality and corruption. And that's an argument that the Paxton will never win. Last thing I want to flag before predictions, I love this. Count Binface. Mm-hmm.
Binface lost, though.
But he got, so for our U.S. listeners, not our UK base, for whom this is old news, Count Binface is a perennial candidate in the UK. Mm-hmm. An alien, poses as an alien with a garbage can for a head. Look him up online. Look up Count Binface online. Mm-hmm. Neil Farage, former, and once again, ex-member of Parliament, former MP, PM, ran in a special election after being accused of corruption. Mm-hmm. No major party candidate ran against him. 34 candidates, I think, ran. 34 candidates ran in the contest, including Count Binface and Farage. Count Binface got 9,455 votes. The winner, Farage, got 22,000. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's a lot of votes for an alien garbage can.
Or a medium amount of votes for somebody to stand up against Nigel Farage.
But even
right? like they're voting against Farage.
Well, clearly, with like a handful of people, the garbage can is finally running. Yeah. Like, maybe he'll pick up the garbage. But I just think it's a thing. I think like almost 10,000 people in Clacton, almost 10,000 people in Clacton thought, you know what, the garbage can to be better than the former PM.
Yeah, and the bit that just really stands out about this is, like, it would be a lot more fun if Farage had lost.
Yeah, that would have been.
What that signals is the inevitability story of Farage and his party's rise to power starts looking a lot weaker there when it turns out, no, people are ready to vote for Count Binface.
Right. A quarter of the voters in Clacton said the alien garbage can.
Yeah. Like, I'm not ready to say that the authoritarians faring well in democratic elections is over worldwide, but certainly, like, if you go back to early 2025, it was looking like the rise of authoritarianism, like authoritarian parties winning democratic elections across the globe, like the ascendant right, or ascendant extreme far right.
Right.
That was a story in 2025, and I think this is another one of those beats that says, like, actually, the more people see the ascendant far right, the more they're ready for a garbage can head instead.
Well, because the folks leading it just are bad at it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're also seeing this with the FIFA election, with Infantino coming up in March, who is endorsed by President Trump's FIFA liaison for the World Cup, Giuliani's son, who said, you're wrong-headed if you think that Infantino's doing a bad job. So basically, Trump has endorsed this incumbent FIFA president, which is kind of like with friends like these who needs enemies moment, right? Because you're looking at European leaders saying, oh, here's one more reason they're mad at Infantino anyway because of how he handled the World Cup, wanted to privatize part of the World Cup, his closeness to Trump. Trump's buddy is saying, you don't like him, you must be, you're a dingbat. Like, one, don't insult your voters. Calling people stupid, really not a persuasive tool. And two, like, one of the reasons people don't like Infantino is because he's so close to Trump.
So what you're saying is if you had a vote, you would vote for Count Binface over Infantino.
Quite possibly at this point. Quite possibly. I
That'd be an
say
upgrade
this
for people.
as a serious soccer guy. All right, let's get to predictions. We're hitting a lull. Predict.
Predictions for the semester, right? So
You can predict whatever you want. I asked you before you want to predict, and you said, I don't know. What do you want?
okay, so I had
you?
prepped, just so our listeners know.
I had prepped.
I had suggested
Like,
2
as
weeks
you were
ago.
pulling on a clean T-shirt in the elevator, you were prepping.
True. I had suggested 2 weeks ago that since the semester's about to start and the podcast is called Office Hours, that we should entertain ourselves and our listeners with what predictions do we have for the end of the semester.
Okay.
Did you do that assignment?
I predicted you might bring it up. I don't have it. I'm terrible at predicting. I'm terrible at predicting political outcomes. Ask anybody.
Okay,
And
so
in my
this doesn't have to be like who do you think is going to win in November? This
Okay.
should, like, when you look ahead to December, what's a thing that you think we're going to end up talking about over the next 3 months in an interesting way?
I think it's going to be who is winning the story of the results of the midterms, right? Because the midterms are going to happen. Obviously, votes are going to be cast. Everybody's going to rush in to say, therefore, blank.
Yeah.
And then whoever wins that narrative will be best set up to win 2028. So I'm going to be looking not at the outcome, but the story of the outcome.
Okay. So what I predict, again, a thing that I think is shaping the election cycle that we haven't talked about this episode is everybody's mad at data centers.
Yep.
We're just getting to the point. There was a Republican memo, I think, this week to the tech industry saying, hey, you know how everybody hates data centers? We're going to need you to spend all of the money, please.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see record spending from like big tech / VCs, all backing the Republican Party, even though Republicans are also saying bad things about data centers. I think they're basically going to say like, oh, this party has been the one that has our backs, so we're going to spend 9 figures.
Yeah.
And I think the airwaves are going to get blanketed through October with spending from big tech telling people that AI is the future and Democrats hate AI and you should all love AI. My guess is that's going to have a bit of a backfire because people are not going to like it's going to be so much spending that people get kind of disgusted by it.
Well, it's also all the research I've seen finds that people dislike AI, they distrust AI, it's an uncertain future for all the reasons people hate new technology, but we're also all using it all of the time.
Some are using it all the time. The numbers
Knowingly
on
or
who's
not,
using
knowingly or not, even if you're not subscribing to Claude, and I do.
Right, that gets into what counts as AI and what
Right,
doesn't
predictive
count as
versus
AI.
generative and all
And
of
like,
that.
do we call everything that's machine learning AI? Like when you use Gmail, but you don't use the AI feature, you are still using a bunch of machine learning. Do we count that as AI or not? The industry says yes, but like if you asked an average person, they'd be like, no, I didn't use ChatGPT today.
Right, which then becomes the what am I afraid of versus what am I actually doing,
Right.
which becomes an interesting
And
conversation.
also, what world are they trying to build?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're gonna, I think we're gonna end up spending a lot of time astonished by how much money is getting spent. It's all going to be from one industry that's unpopular in favor of a party that's unpopular, and I think that's going to get a little bit weird.
Yes, I don't think it's going to work. But the other thing I do think, so a couple of years ago, when AI companies, the tech companies started investing heavily in elections, reporters would call and say, what do you think? This is a new thing. My argument was, well, it'll only matter if they stick around, right? If tech companies and Silicon Valley historically have come into DC, parachuted in, spent a bunch of money, not gotten their way initially, and left. The way you have an influence is if you stick around and you stick around and you stick around. You do the boring policy work in between elections. Tech is sticking around this time, which is, I think, a lesson they learned.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got two things. One is got to do the Aristotle thing because it's fitting for you, but we'll come to that at the end.
Did you need to do
It's
the
soothing. Yes, I
Aristotle
did,
thing?
because a whole pad. This is how you know when the podcast will be over, when I'm done with the pad. So you're gonna go on the socials because you're big on the socials. You're even on. I've seen you on LinkedIn, which is a weird place for Dave Karp to be.
Don't let people know that I'm on LinkedIn.
Why would you be on social media, not anyone to know? Don't tell anybody.
Well, no, but
I'm public.
I'm proud of being on Blue Sky because Blue Sky is cool. Therefore, I'm not proud of being on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is the opposite of cool.
But you're there anyway. So you're really hanging out in uncool places.
I'm not.
How shallow are you, Div?
But the book comes out January 12th. Pre-orders coming soon, folks. Come on.
Also book live shows. So, but I went on the Blue Sky, and after you type in on the most recent office hours with Karpf and Loge, then you drop in the URL for whatever platform. You've got about 200 characters left. How are you using those 200 characters?
I'm going to mention that on this episode of Office Hours with Karpf and Loge, we make fun of David Axelrod and make fun of an AI company.
Good.
No?
Yeah,
What would you
sure.
say?
I think it's the voters are rewarding candidates who talk about things that matter to voters and appear to be like people. That's a lot of characters.
No, that'll fit.
That'll fit. All right. Last thing before we go, I do the Aristotle quote. And again, this is like a Dave quote. It's the antidote
Because
for...
I'm a lot like Aristotle. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. You heard it from Peter Loge right there.
I think you're both training for marathons. That was a different Greek, I suppose. The antidote for 50 enemies is one friend.
Wait, and since we have a running bit here that I have 0 friends, that
No,
means
you have
that
one
I've
friend.
got
You have Yvonne's your friend.
No defense.
Yvonne's your friend. Your producer's your friend. I had to buy her loyalty by paying for the merch and the pizza. She hangs out with you because she wants to.
That's fair.
So the antidote
Yvonne, you're
for
my
50 enemies is one friend. So I feel like we can check that box.
Okay, good.
See you next time.
Bye, folks.